Whew. Cheers to everyone for watching. My name is Mitchell. You're watching the Stereo Picture Society, and today we're going to be doing a review of The Healing's new album, Hollow Earth. The Healing is a metalcore outfit from good old London, Ontario. And the band is based on Joe and Chris Garant, Jason Dykman, and good old Ned Skippington. This is a completely independent record. Chris had recorded and mixed and mastered the album himself, as well as done all the vocals. So shout out to those guys for going all the way on this. And I will like to add that this is the coolest album cover I've seen so far in 2018. A lot of lyrics in the album make reference to this album art. So shout out to the cover art and the artists that made this cover happen. The Healing's been around for a bit now. They released a couple of EPs from 2014 onward. And though they're from London and I was from there, I have not known these guys, so I was really excited to see that they're from my home away from home. And what really excites me about this record is that I'm doing a review for the Ontario hardcore and metal scene, which is abundant. All these super great alternative bands that made their mark to alternative kids. Back in high school, I had a huge pocket of alternative friends who were into the hardcore and metal scene, so this review is for you guys. For those of you unfamiliar with metalcore and the abundance of subgenres in the metal scene, here's just a brief overview. You'll find a lot of genres within the North American metal scene ending with the word core in it. That's pretty much just a signifier for it being popular from the 90s onwards, as opposed to saying stuff like heavy metal and alt rock, which had come forth at a different period of time. With metal being an alternative genre nowadays, metalcore is one of the more pop-based subgenres. There's a good balance of screaming and growling and melodies being sung. It's relatively half and half that you'd expect on each song. There's a lot of down-tuned muted guitars that you hear, creating a lot of grooves, which is known as djent. Genres are pretty much labeled in what the lyrics and the performance are talking about. For instance, genres like deathcore and black metal talk about, death. With metalcore, you can expect a bit more personal lyrics, especially a lot more socio-political ones as well. All this under a barrage of heavy, punishing lyrics, a lot of very full sounding productions, and last but not least, an insane live experience where people are getting plastered and typically watching and or moshing in the boots. And The Healing doesn't stray away from these fundamentals of metalcore on Hollow Earth. In general, a lot of lyrics are revolving around being a better person. You get tracks like Phantom Self and Divinity, where the lyrics are revolving around taking a hard look at yourself, not recognizing what you see, striving to be better, striving to be the best parts of you as well. I particularly like the song Absolution, where the punishment that you feel in the track matches the heartache that are in the lyrics really well. I think the line, "I took all those years away from you, can't forget the years you gave to me," is one of the most heart-wrenching lyrics that I've heard all year. Then you get a lot of tracks that get into phone culture, online culture, socio-political stuff. Tracks like Glass House, Hollow Earth, and the title track, where there's some legitimately great, well-written lines that are a massive critique of the culture today. Glass House has the most brutal lyrics on the album, even though it's one of the shortest. Oddly enough, the riff reminded me of Bulls on Parade, and I'm not upset about making that comparison. I especially love the breakdown where Chris goes, "Fuck your safe space!" And then glass shatters and the band goes into this slow breakdown. It's some heavy shit. The song Hollow Earth is pretty much a follow-up to Glass House, but it focuses more on hope for the human counterpart. The song is prefaced by this interlude with this female singer singing the chorus to Hollow Earth with a bunch of guitars and sparse drums around it. The song Babel is one of the more technical tracks on the album, where the lyrics are revolving around the struggle of language and the struggle to be heard even though you're really passionate about your message. Lyrically, the song Return to Source is a great ending for the album. The track feels a lot like power metal in that they're praising some kind of ultimate form that they wish to be, pretty natural, pretty open to anything, more in tune with the world. But yeah, most of the lyrics on here are really poetic. I was really taken aback by what I was reading and hearing. And also some advice going into this album. I was really happy for on my first listen, I was reading the lyrics as Chris was going through his growls and fry screams, because the amount of poetry in here is really great. Time can never heal the pain. We feed the fire that forged the chains of helplessness, codependent purgatory. Into the mirror, reflection's story is far from visions we hoped and strived for. I still strive. Realize the parts that hold you under can be the balance, can be what brings the tides of change. Reinforced repetition. Go deeper, much deeper. So mastered is the art of our self-repression. The sound of the album is really good, the mixing was really great, and I didn't have much qualms with how everything was written or sounded. I really enjoyed the instrumentation on Waters Above as well. It's definitely the most pulverizing song on the album, with a whole bunch of relentless growling, a whole bunch of blast beats too. I really liked how the drums shined here on this song. A couple of the songs, such as Hollow Earth and Divinity and Return to Source, had an opening of this high pass kind of either guitar or piano with these pads over it, and then this high pass slowly sunk into the actual intro of the song, which I thought was an interesting choice for the album. It reminded me a lot of Coldplay's Viva La Vida, but opposed to Viva La Vida, which had the same musical motif, these high pass openings of songs on Hollow Earth just sounded similar. I think going into further projects, that motif can be utilized to have a greater effect. What was interesting was hearing some instruments that, while they were djenting, they sounded gated. They were clipped or cut right where the sound stops, as opposed to having a natural release of the sound. And I suppose this is djenting, but more in the production sense. For most of the album, the release of djenting was natural, but what was interesting to see this being done in production. This is kind of picky and not going towards the album, but what bothered me is how they're going to pull that off live. What kind of effects or sound systems the Healing are going to use to replicate that gated sound live. I really liked all the harmonies on the hooks on this thing. I really felt that it could have been catchier, because when I came away from the album, I didn't get the sense that I remembered a lot of hooks. Maybe more hooks moving forward, because the production and the songwriting as if these songs were singles is definitely here on this album. They were nice to listen to, I just felt like they could have been a little bit more catchier, a little bit more memorable. And I hope that moving forward, the Healing can get into some interesting production and maybe even some interesting instrumentation. Because I found a lot of room listening to this album where different things, different sounds like auxiliary percussion, even Foley sounds like the glass breaking. More sounds like that incorporated to an album of this magnitude can make it a very interesting and a more artistic listen, if they would like that. And yeah, I enjoyed this record. I think it was really great. I can't wait to see the Healing live. I'm sure they're putting on a really great show. And I think that if you were ever into metalcore or interested in what all the cores mean, I think this is a really good album to get introduced into the genre. And if you're one to say that you want to support the local scene, check out this album as well. I highly recommend going onto Bandcamp to listen to this album, because the lyrics are down there as well. And other than that, I just hope that they enjoy their artistic experience. This is a really cool band that put out a great record, and I wish them all the best. So out of my handy dandy enjoyment chart, I'm going to give these guys a solid star. Good job, you guys. Congratulations on the album. If you enjoyed my video and enjoyed what I had to say, please make sure to like and subscribe, and please share this with your friends. If you knew anybody that was into the hardcore or metal scene growing up, feel free to share this with them. I'm sure they get a kick out of listening to what I had to say or listening to the album. Make sure to follow The Healing and listen to their music. Links to their music are down below. And yeah, I hope you all have a really good Labor Day weekend. Cheers again for watching. My name has been Mitchell. Be here, be queer, stay strong, and listen on, my dudes. Yeah, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers!